For 15 years, Marcus Kane built an empire with her photograph on his desk and her name in his heart, turning down every woman, every opportunity, every chance at happiness, because he'd made a promise to a girl who disappeared without goodbye. "I'll wait for you, no matter how long it takes." The Forbes magazine sat on my mahogany desk, my face staring back at me from the cover. Marcus Kane, the billionaire who built tech's most ethical empire. 35 years old, worth $8.3 billion, named one of the most eligible bachelors in America for the 5th year running. What the article didn't mention was that I'd turned down every single woman who'd tried to date me in 15 years. What it couldn't capture was the photograph I kept in my desk drawer. A picture so worn from handling that the edges had gone soft. The colors slightly faded. Nadia Williams. Age 17 in that photo, her dark skin glowing in summer sunlight, her smile so bright it could power cities. My best friend, my first love. The girl who vanished the day after we graduated high school, leaving only a note that said, "I'm sorry. Please don't look for me. I love you. Always." N. 15 years ago. And I'd spent every single day since then keeping a promise I'd made to her when we were kids. "No matter what happens, I'll always be here. I'll always wait." "Mr. Kane," my assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. "The acquisition team is ready for you in conference room A." I put the magazine in the recycling bin. I'd never liked seeing my face in print, and headed to the meeting. Another day building Kane Technologies, the company I'd founded with $10,000 borrowed from my uncle and a dream of creating something that mattered. The dream had always been for both of us. Nadia had been the one with vision, creativity, the ability to see possibilities I couldn't imagine. I'd been the one with technical skills, the coder who could make her ideas reality. We were supposed to build this together. Instead, I'd built it alone, leaving a space for her in everything I created. VP of Creative Development, the title sat empty, the office furnished but unused. Waiting. My CFO, Jennifer, met me outside the conference room. "Marcus, we need to talk about the VP position. It's been 15 years. The board is asking questions." "Let them ask. You're holding open a C-suite position for someone who might never—" She stopped, seeing my expression. "I'm sorry. I know she meant something to you." "She means everything to me," I corrected quietly. "Present tense, Jennifer, not past. But I made a promise. I keep my promises." Inside the conference room, my acquisition team had prepared presentations on 3 potential companies to buy. Tech startups, innovative, hungry. The kind of companies I'd once dreamed of building with Nadia. "First up," my head of acquisitions began, "is a small design firm in Atlanta. Only 5 employees, but their work is exceptional. They specialize in accessible design, making technology usable for people with disabilities. Their portfolio is impressive for such a small operation." He clicked to the next slide, showing examples of their work. Clean interfaces, thoughtful user experience, the kind of design that prioritized people over profit. Something about the aesthetic felt familiar. A specific use of color, a way of balancing form and function that reminded me of, "Who owns the company?" I asked, my heart suddenly racing. "The founder and lead designer, a woman named—" He checked his notes. "Nadia Williams." The room tilted. For 15 years, I'd imagined this moment, rehearsed what I'd say, how I'd react, but now that it was here, I couldn't breathe. "Show me her picture." "Sir?" "The owner. Show me her picture. Now." He fumbled with his laptop, pulling up the company's website. And there she was, older, her hair in natural curls instead of the straightened style she'd worn in high school, laugh lines around her eyes, more beautiful than I remembered, which I hadn't thought was possible. Nadia, my Nadia, after 15 years. "Cancel all my meetings for the rest of the week," I said, standing abruptly. "I'm going to Atlanta." "Sir, we haven't even discussed the valuation." "I don't care about the valuation. Book me a flight. Now." Jennifer followed me out of the conference room. Marcus, you can't just fly to Atlanta on a whim. You have the investor meeting tomorrow, the board presentation. Reschedule everything. You're going to see her. It wasn't a question. I've waited 15 years. I'm not waiting another day. Back in my office, I pulled out the photograph. 17-year-old Nadia smiled up at me, frozen in time. I'd been 18 in that photo, gangly and awkward, but happy because I was with her. We'd met in 7th grade. Me, the white kid who was too smart for his own good and got beat up for it, and her, the black girl who was new to our predominantly white school and didn't take crap from anyone. You gonna let them keep doing that? She'd asked, finding me behind the gym after Tommy Richardson and his friends had shoved me into a locker. What am I supposed to do about it? Fight back, or better yet, outsmart them. You're clearly smarter. Use it. She'd helped me up, and we'd been inseparable ever since. Best friends through middle school. Something more by high school, though we'd never quite had the courage to name it. Until graduation night. We'd been sitting on the hood of my beat-up Toyota, watching the sunrise after the all-night party everyone threw. I'm scared, she'd admitted. Everyone's leaving for college, going their separate ways. What if we lose this, lose us? We won't, Nadia, I promise. No matter what happens, no matter where life takes us, I'll wait for you. I'll always be here. You can't promise that. What if you meet someone else? What if... I won't. You're it for me. You've always been it. I'd taken her hand. I'll wait forever if I have to. She'd kissed me then, our first real kiss, full of promise and hope, and the belief that nothing could separate us. The next morning, she was gone. No explanation beyond that note. Her phone disconnected. Her mother's house empty, a for sale sign in the yard. It was like she'd been erased from existence. I'd searched. God, I'd searched. Private investigators, social media deep dives, every Nadia Williams in the country contacted. Nothing. She'd disappeared completely. So I'd done the only thing I could, kept my promise, built the company we'd dreamed about, saved a place for her, waited, and now, finally, I knew where she was. The flight to Atlanta was the longest 6 hours of my life. I'd chartered a private jet, one of the few luxuries I actually used, and spent the entire flight rehearsing what I'd say. Why did you leave? Too accusatory. I've missed you. Too simple for 15 years of pain. I kept my promise. Too guilt-trippy. In the end, I had no idea what I'd say. I just knew I had to see her. Her design firm, Williams Creative Solutions, operated out of a converted warehouse in Atlanta's old 4th Ward. The neighborhood was gentrifying rapidly, tech companies and coffee shops replacing old industrial buildings. I stood outside for 5 minutes, gathering courage. I'd faced down hostile investors, ruthless competitors, corporate sabotage. But the thought of seeing Nadia after 15 years terrified me more than any boardroom. Finally, I pushed through the door. The office was open concept, full of light and color. Design work covered every wall. Interfaces, accessibility features, thoughtful solutions to problems most designers ignored. Her work. I'd recognize her aesthetic anywhere. A young woman at the front desk looked up. Can I help you? I'm here to see Nadia Williams. Do you have an appointment? No, but... I pulled out my business card. Tell her Marcus Kane is here. She'll know who I am. The receptionist's eyes widened as she read the card. The Marcus Kane? From Kane Technologies? Just tell her I'm here, please. She disappeared into a back office, and I heard muffled conversation, then silence, then footsteps, and then there she was. Nadia stood in the doorway, her hand gripping the frame like she needed support. She wore jeans and a Black Girl Magic t-shirt, her natural hair pulled back in a colorful wrap. She was 33 now, no longer the girl I'd loved, but a woman I didn't yet know. But her eyes, God, her eyes were the same, brown and deep and holding universes. Marcus, My name in her voice, after 15 years of silence. Nadia! I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Hi! Hi! She was crying, tears streaming down her face. Oh God, Marcus! What are you doing here? You disappeared. 15 years ago, you vanished without explanation, and I promised I'd wait. So I waited. And now I'm here. She pressed her hand to her mouth, shoulders shaking. You shouldn't have come. Why not? Because I left for a reason. Because She looked around at her curious employees. Not here. Can we talk? Privately? Anywhere. Anytime. I've got nothing but time for you. She grabbed her jacket and keys. There's a park 2 blocks away. Follow me. We walked in silence, the Atlanta afternoon warm and bright. People passed us. Couples, families, professionals on lunch breaks, normal people living normal lives, unaware that my entire world was walking beside me in worn sneakers and jeans. The park was small, just a patch of green with benches and a fountain. Nadia sat on a bench overlooking the water, and I sat beside her, leaving a careful distance between us. You built an empire, she said finally. I followed your company, read every article, watched every interview. You did it, Marcus. Everything we talked about. I did it for us. There's a position waiting for you, VP of Creative Development. Your office has been ready for 15 years. She made a sound between a laugh and a sob. You're insane. I made a promise. People break promises all the time. I'm not people, and you know I never break my word. I turned to face her fully. Nadia, why did you leave? What happened? Your note said not to look for you, so I respected that. But I never stopped. My voice broke. I never stopped loving you. She was fully crying now, her whole body shaking. You should have moved on, found someone else, built a life. I built a life. It just has a Nadia-shaped hole in it. Marcus, tell me why, please. I've spent 15 years wondering what I did wrong, how I failed you, why loving you wasn't enough to make you stay. You didn't do anything wrong. She grabbed my hands, desperate. God, Marcus, you were perfect. You were everything good in my life. That's why I had to leave. That makes no sense. My father. She spit the word like poison. He came back. I froze. Nadia's father had left when she was 3. We'd never talked about him much, just that he'd been abusive, dangerous, and her mother had spent years hiding from him. He found us, Nadia continued, her voice hollow. The week before graduation. Showed up at our house high and angry and saying he had rights, that he wanted his family back. My mom was terrified. She'd spent 15 years building a life for us, and he was going to destroy it. Why didn't you tell me? I would have helped. That's exactly why I didn't tell you. Marcus, he was violent, dangerous, and he knew about you. He knew I cared about you. He threatened, she choked on the words. He threatened to kill you if I didn't cut contact. Said he'd burn down your whole life because you were the reason I didn't respect family. The world stopped spinning. What? We had to run, my mom and me, change our names, move across the country, disappear completely. And I couldn't tell you because if you knew where I was, you'd come after me. You'd try to fix it, and he'd kill you. She was gripping my hand so tight it hurt. I loved you too much to let that happen. So I left. I broke your heart to save your life. CTA number 1, if someone you loved disappeared to protect you from danger, would you want to know the truth? Or would you rather believe they just stopped loving you? What's more painful, betrayal or sacrifice? Drop your thoughts below. I couldn't process her words. Couldn't reconcile the girl I'd loved with this story of danger and sacrifice. You left to protect me, I said slowly. Yes. For 15 years I thought you didn't love me enough to stay, that I wasn't worth a goodbye. Marcus. And the whole time you were protecting me, giving up everything, Us, your future, your dreams, because your father was a monster. She nodded, tears still falling. Where is he now? Your father? Dead. 3 years ago. Drug overdose in a Memphis motel. It took me 2 years after that to believe he was really gone, to stop looking over my shoulder, to think maybe, just maybe, I could start living again instead of just surviving. And you didn't reach out. You didn't tell me. How could I? Marcus, you're a billionaire now. You have this whole life. She gestured at herself. I'm running a 5-person design firm in Atlanta. I have nothing to offer you except the truth and an apology that's 15 years too late. Nothing to offer? I couldn't help the bitter laugh. Nadia, you're everything. You've always been everything. Do you know why I built Kane Technologies? To change the world, to make technology accessible. I built it because you taught me to see people first, because you showed me that innovation without empathy is just clever cruelty, because every single decision I make I ask myself, what would Nadia think? Would she be proud of this? I moved closer. My entire empire is built on the foundation of loving you, of trying to be worthy of the girl who saw potential in an awkward kid getting shoved into lockers. I'm not that girl anymore. I'm not that kid anymore, but I'm still the man who loves you, who's loved you every day for 15 years, who kept a promise even when it seemed insane. She looked at me like I was something precious and painful. You really waited. I really waited. Turned down every date, every setup, every woman who expressed interest. My friends thought I was crazy. The media calls me a commitment phobe. But the truth is simpler. I'm committed, just to someone who wasn't there. Marcus, we can't just pick up where we left off. 15 years have passed. We're different people. So let's get to know who we are now. Let's start over. I stood, extending my hand formally. Hi, I'm Marcus Kane. I'm 35. I run a tech company, and I've been in love with the same woman since I was 13 years old. Would you like to have dinner with me? She stared at my hand, at my face, at the absurdity of the gesture. Then, slowly, she smiled. That same smile from the photograph, but richer now, earned through suffering and survival. Hi, I'm Nadia Williams. I'm 33. I run a design firm, and I've spent 15 years trying to forget the boy who promised to wait for me. She took my hand. I'd love to have dinner with you. That dinner turned into 3 dinners, then coffee dates, then long phone calls that lasted until 3 a.m., both of us too wired on rediscovery to sleep. I learned who Nadia had become. A woman who'd put herself through design school while working 2 jobs, who'd built her company from nothing, focusing on accessibility because she'd spent years feeling invisible and wanted to make sure no one else felt that way. Who'd taught herself coding because it made her feel connected to the boy she'd left behind. She learned who I'd become. A billionaire who lived modestly because wealth had never been the goal. A CEO who refused to go public because I wouldn't let shareholders dictate my ethics. A man who'd poured his loneliness into building something that mattered because building was better than wallowing. Your company culture is legendary, Nadia said one night over takeout in her apartment, a modest 1-bedroom filled with art and color and life. Highest employee satisfaction in the industry, fair wages, ethical sourcing. You really built what we dreamed about. We dreamed about building it together. Marcus, I'm not trying to guilt you. I'm just stating facts. That VP position is still open. Your office is still waiting. I have a company here, employees depending on me. Bring them. I'll acquire Williams Creative Solutions, merge it into Kane Technologies. Your team becomes my accessibility division. You lead it as VP. Everyone wins. She set down her fork. You're serious. I'm always serious about you. That's too much. I can't let you buy my company just because. I'm not buying it just because. I'm buying it because your work is exceptional and fills a gap in my company's offerings. The fact that it also means I get to work with you every day is just a bonus. I reached for her hand. Nadia, I'm not trying to buy you or manipulate you. I'm offering you what should have been yours 15 years ago. A partnership, a collaboration, a chance to build the future we planned. And what about us? The personal us? What about it? Are you offering me the job because you want me professionally, or because you're hoping it leads somewhere personally? Both, I admitted. I want you in my life, Nadia. Professionally, personally. Every way you'll let me have you. But if you take the job and never want to date me, I'll respect that. If you want to date me but keep your company separate, I'll respect that too. I just want you back in my life. However that looks. She was quiet for a long time, studying my face. You really mean that? I really mean that. You've been alone for 15 years because of me. Don't you resent me? Even a little? I was alone because I chose to keep a promise. That's not on you. I squeezed her hand. Nadia, I won't lie. Those 15 years hurt. There were nights I was angry, confused, convinced I was a fool for waiting, but I never regretted it, because the alternative was settling for someone who wasn't you, and I couldn't do that. I'd rather be alone and keep hoping than be with someone else and always wonder, what if? I don't deserve you. You saved my life. Your father threatened to kill me, and you disappeared to protect me. You spent 15 years in hiding, giving up your dreams, living in fear, all to keep me safe. If anything, I don't deserve you. She laughed, but it was watery. We're quite a pair. Both convinced we don't deserve each other. Maybe that means we're perfect for each other. 3 weeks after I'd shown up in Atlanta, Nadia flew to San Francisco to see Kane Technologies headquarters. I'd had her office prepared exactly as I'd imagined. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay, a design workstation with top-of-the-line equipment, walls painted in her favorite colors, deep purple and gold. A nameplate on the door. Nadia Williams, VP of Creative Development. She stood in the doorway, speechless. It's been ready for years, I said quietly. I redecorated it 3 times, trying to guess what you'd want. Finally settled on this about 5 years ago. Marcus. She walked in slowly, touching the desk, the ergonomic chair, the art on the walls, pieces by black artists, because I knew that mattered to her. This is insane. This is hope. Physical, architectural hope that you'd come back. She turned to me, tears in her eyes. What if I'd never come back? What if you'd waited your whole life for nothing? Then I'd have died knowing I kept my word. That counts for something. You're ridiculous. You're worth being ridiculous for. She kissed me then, our first kiss in 15 years, and it was like coming home and starting fresh all at once, familiar and new, safe and terrifying. When we broke apart, she was smiling through tears. Okay. I'll take the job. I'll move my team to San Francisco. I'll be your VP of Creative Development and your... She hesitated. What are we, Marcus? What is this? Whatever you want it to be. We can take it slow. Date properly. Get to know each other as adults. Or we can acknowledge that I've loved you for 22 years and you've loved me for just as long, and we can stop pretending we're not endgame. She laughed, the sound bright and real. You're very confident for a man who just got his first kiss in 15 years. I'm confident in us. I always have been. Even when I disappeared? Especially then, because I knew you. And I knew that if you left, it was for a reason I'd understand eventually. I just had to wait for you to be safe enough to tell me. She rested her forehead against mine. I missed you every single day. I'd see something funny and think I have to tell Marcus. Then remember I couldn't. It was like losing a limb. I did the same thing. Every success, every milestone. I'd think Nadia would be proud of this. And then I'd look at your empty office and wonder if you were even alive. I'm here now. I'm real. I'm not disappearing again. Promise? Promise. No more running. No more hiding. I'm staying. Good. I kissed her again, deeper this time. Because I've waited 15 years for this. I'm not wasting another minute. CTA number 2. Marcus waited 15 years for a woman who disappeared without explanation. Would you have waited? Or would you have moved on after a year, 5 years, 10? How long is too long to wait for love? Let me know in the comments. The news broke 3 days after Nadia accepted the position. Billionaire Marcus Kane finally dating after 15 years. New VP is his high school sweetheart. The media frenzy was immediate and brutal. Gold digger trended on Twitter within hours. Think pieces emerged. Did Nadia Williams plan this all along? The convenient timing of a CEO romance. When mixing business and pleasure goes too far. The racist undertones were barely concealed. Comments flooded social media. Of course he's with a black woman now that it's trendy. She trapped him with the job offer. He could have had anyone, and he chose her. I watched Nadia shut down. She stopped smiling at work, stopped meeting my eyes in meetings, put physical distance between us whenever anyone else was around. Talk to me, I finally said, cornering her in her office after everyone else had left. There's nothing to talk about. Bullshit. You've been avoiding me for 3 days. I'm not avoiding you. I'm being professional, which is what we should be at work. Nadia, stop. Just stop. I closed the door, giving us privacy. Tell me what's really going on. She was quiet for a long moment, then exploded. They're calling me a gold digger, Marcus, saying I trapped you, that this whole thing is some elaborate scheme. They're questioning whether my company was even worth buying or if you just paid millions for your high school crush. Who cares what they say? I care. I spent 15 years building my reputation, building my company from nothing, and now people are acting like I'm some opportunist who showed up with her hand out. Anyone who knows you knows that's not true, but they don't know me. They just see a black woman dating her billionaire boss and assume I'm after money. She was pacing now, agitated. And the racist comments, Marcus, do you see them? People saying you're virtue signaling, that I'm your diversity hire, that you could do so much better if you wanted someone classy. I'll sue every single person who... You can't sue the internet. And even if you could, it wouldn't matter. The damage is done. She stopped pacing, her expression hardening. Maybe we should cool things off. Keep it professional. No. Marcus, no. I've waited 15 years for you. I'm not letting racist trolls and gossip rags dictate our relationship. But they're right about one thing. Mixing business and personal is complicated. What if we break up? What if this doesn't work out? I'll have given up my company, moved my employees across the country, and then I'm stuck working for my ex. We're not going to break up. You can't know that. Yes, I can. Because I know me and I know you and I know us. I crossed to her, taking her hands. Nadia, I have loved you since I was 13 years old, through 15 years of separation, through every obstacle life has thrown at us. I'm not giving up now because some strangers on the internet have opinions. It's not just strangers. Your board is concerned. I heard Jennifer talking about optics and appearance of impropriety. The board works for me, not the other way around. But they have a point. What if people stop taking me seriously? What if every decision I make, every promotion I recommend, people assume it's because I'm sleeping with the CEO? Then they're idiots, and their opinions don't matter. That's easy for you to say. You're a white billionaire man. You could date anyone, and people would call it a power move. I'm a black woman who used to be homeless because I was hiding from my abusive father. Do you know how that looks to people? I froze. You were homeless? She looked away. For about 6 months, right after we left, before my mom found work, we lived in our car. in shelters. I didn't mention it because you thought I'd pity you. Because it's humiliating. And now if that gets out, it's going to feed right into every stereotype about black women being after rich men's money. Nadia. I made her look at me. I don't care what anyone thinks. I care about you. About us. About building the life we should have had 15 years ago. But don't you see? We can't just pick up where we left off. Too much has happened. Too much has changed. And the world isn't going to let us be together without making it ugly. So we make it beautiful anyway. We ignore the noise and focus on what matters. That's naive. No, it's determined. There's a difference. I pulled her close. I'm not going to let racism and gossip steal you from me a second time. I lost you once because a dangerous man threatened my life. I'm not losing you again because strangers on Twitter have opinions. She leaned into me, exhausted. I'm scared, Marcus. What if I'm not strong enough for this? What if the pressure breaks us? Then we break together and rebuild. That's what partners do. Is that what we are? Partners? In every sense of the word. Business partners, life partners, whatever you need me to be. She pulled back to look at me. I need you to understand that this is harder for me than it is for you. You're used to people celebrating your success. I'm used to people questioning whether I deserve it. You get to be a genius billionaire. I get to be the black woman who might be using you. Then let's prove them wrong. Let's show them that your work speaks for itself, that you're brilliant and talented and you earned every bit of success you have. How? By doing what you do best, creating incredible things, leading with integrity, being so undeniably excellent that even the haters have to shut up. She smiled, small but real. You have a lot of faith in me. I have a realistic assessment of your capabilities. You're extraordinary. The world just needs to catch up. She took my advice. Over the next 3 months, Nadia threw herself into work with a ferocity that was both inspiring and concerning. She launched our accessibility initiative, comprehensive features that made our software usable for people with disabilities. She hired a team of disabled consultants to ensure we got it right. She created partnerships with advocacy organizations. The response was overwhelming. Disability rights activists praised the initiative. Competitors scrambled to catch up. Media coverage shifted from our relationship to our innovation. Nadia Williams is changing tech for the better, ran one headline. Kane Technologies' accessibility initiative sets new industry standard, ran another. Slowly, the narrative changed. Nadia became known not as Marcus Kane's girlfriend, but as a visionary designer in her own right. But the success came at a cost. She was working 16-hour days, skipping meals. I'd find her asleep at her desk more often than not. You're burning out, I told her one night, finding her in the office at 11 p.m. I'm proving myself. You don't have to prove anything. Yes, I do. She looked up from her computer, eyes bloodshot. Every day, I have to be twice as good to get half the credit. That's the reality of being a black woman in tech. And I'm dating the CEO, which means I have to be 4 times as good to even be taken seriously. Nadia. Do you know what happened today? A major client specifically requested that someone else handle their account because they weren't sure I was qualified. Never mind that I have more experience than half our team. Never mind my portfolio. I'm the CEO's black girlfriend. So clearly I'm a diversity hire. What did you do? I showed them my work. Let it speak for itself. They apologized and asked to keep me on the account. She turned back to her computer. But I shouldn't have to prove myself like that, and yet I do, every single day. I pulled up a chair beside her. You're right, it's not fair, and I'm sorry that loving me means you have to work twice as hard to be taken half as seriously. It's not your fault. It kind of is. My privilege protects me from consequences you face. The least I can do is acknowledge that. She looked at me, surprised. Most men don't get that. Most men are idiots, but I've had 15 years to think about our relationship. to recognize that my love for you doesn't erase the systemic inequalities you face. It just means I need to be aware of them and do my part to dismantle them. How very woke of you, Mr. Billionaire. I prefer educated and empathetic, but sure, woke works too. I closed her laptop. Come home with me, rest. The work will be here tomorrow. I can't. I have 3 more presentations to prep. Nadia, you're exhausted. You're running on fumes and rage. That's not sustainable. Neither is being seen as incompetent. No one thinks you're incompetent. The people who matter know your worth. The people who don't aren't worth convincing. She looked at me, vulnerable in a way she rarely let herself be. Do you ever regret it? Waiting for me? You could have built this empire with someone who didn't come with so much baggage. First of all, trauma isn't baggage. It's experience that shaped who you are. Second, I didn't wait for you despite your challenges. I waited because of who you are, your strength, your vision, your refusal to give up, even when the world tells you you're not enough. I took her hands. You are more than enough. You always have been. She started crying then, deep, exhausted sobs that seemed to come from somewhere primal. I'm so tired, Marcus. Tired of fighting. Tired of proving myself. Tired of people questioning whether I deserve to be here. Then stop fighting for them and start fighting for yourself. You know your worth. I know your worth. That has to be enough. But the right people will see it. The rest don't matter. I wiped her tears. And if they don't see it, if they keep questioning and doubting and undermining you, we'll prove them wrong by building something so incredible they'll have no choice but to acknowledge your genius. We? Always we. That's what partners do. The breaking point came 6 months after Nadia joined Kane Technologies. An expose ran in a major tech publication. The real story behind Marcus Kane and Nadia Williams, a love that started in high school and cost millions. The article wasn't explicitly negative, but the implication was clear. I'd made questionable business decisions based on personal feelings, that I'd overpaid for Nadia's company, that the VP position was nepotism disguised as merit. The board called an emergency meeting. I knew what was coming. Marcus, Jennifer began carefully, we need to discuss the optics of your relationship with Ms. Williams. There's nothing to discuss. She's qualified for her position. She's doing exceptional work. My personal relationship with her is irrelevant. It's not irrelevant when it affects shareholder confidence, another board member interjected. Stock prices have fluctuated based on speculation about your decision-making. Investors are continue concerned you're too personally involved. I'm personally involved in every decision I make. That's called giving a damn about my company. But this is different. You have a romantic relationship with a direct report. Who reports to the COO, not to me. I specifically structured it that way to avoid conflicts of interest. The appearance of impropriety is nearly as damaging as actual impropriety. Then maybe we need a board that cares more about results than appearances. I looked around the table. Nadia Williams has revolutionized our accessibility initiatives. Our user base has expanded by 40% in 6 months because we're finally serving communities we'd ignored. Our reputation in the disability community has gone from adequate to industry-leading. Those are facts. The rest is gossip. Marcus, we're not suggesting you fire her. Good, because I'd rather disband this board than lose her. Silence. I think what we're trying to say, Jennifer tried again, is that perhaps you need to choose, the company or the relationship, for the sake of Kane Technologies' future. I'm not choosing. I'm keeping both. And if this board can't handle that, I'll find a board that can. I walked out of the meeting, furious and terrified, because I knew what this meant. The board would push. Investors would pressure. Eventually, I'd be forced to make a choice, unless I removed the choice entirely. That night, I found Nadia on the roof of the building, her thinking spot, she'd told me once. I heard about the board meeting. she said without turning around. Jennifer told me. I'm handling it. By threatening to disband the board? She finally looked at me. Marcus, you can't sacrifice your company for me. I'm not sacrificing anything. I'm protecting what matters. The company matters. You matter more. That's insane. You built Kane Technologies before you even knew if I was alive. You can't throw that away. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm refusing to let other people dictate my life. I moved closer. Nadia, I've spent 15 years building a company that means something. But do you know what all of it, the money, the success, the accolades, means without you? Nothing. It means nothing. You're being dramatic. I'm being honest. I built this company as a love letter to you, to prove I was worthy of the girl who saw potential in me, to create something that would make you proud. Without you, it's just code and contracts. Marcus, marry me. She stared at me like I'd lost my mind. What? Marry me. Make it clear to everyone that this isn't a workplace romance or a CEO flexing his power. Make it clear that you're my partner in every sense of the word. We've only been together for 6 months. We've been together for 22 years. 6 months ago, we just made it official. That's not how relationships work. Since when have we ever done anything the conventional way? I pulled out a ring box I'd been carrying for 3 weeks, waiting for the right moment. I've loved you since I was 13. I waited 15 years for you to come back. I'm not waiting anymore. The ring was an emerald, her favorite stone, surrounded by diamonds set in gold. This is insane, she whispered. Probably. But so is everything about us. Childhood sweethearts separated by an abusive father, a 15-year wait, a reunion that started with a business acquisition. We've never been conventional. The media will have a field day. Let them. I don't care what they say. I care what you say. Marcus, we can't. This is too fast. It's not fast. It's 15 years slow. I took her hand. Nadia Williams, you are the love of my life. You always have been. You always will be. I don't want to date you for another 2 years to make it look appropriate. I don't want to hide our relationship to appease a board that values appearances over substance. I want to marry you. Build a life with you. Have children with you if you want them. Grow old with you. That's what I want. The question is, what do you want? She was crying, her hands shaking as she looked at the ring. I want you. I've always wanted you. But I'm terrified. Of what? Of being labeled. Of people saying I married you for money. Of never being seen as anything but Marcus Kane's wife. Then we make sure that doesn't happen. You keep your name. You keep your career. You keep being the brilliant, innovative designer who's changing the industry. I'm just the guy lucky enough to go home with you at night. You make it sound so simple. Because it is simple. The world tries to complicate it with racism and classism and gossip. But strip all that away, and it's just 2 people who love each other. That's it. I'm scared, Marcus. Me too. But I'm more scared of losing you again. Of waking up one day and realizing I let other people's opinions steal our happiness. I got down on one knee. So I'm asking, Nadia Williams, will you marry me? Will you be my wife, my partner, my best friend? Will you let me spend the rest of my life proving that waiting for you was the smartest decision I ever made? She looked at me, at the ring, at the city sprawled out below us. Then she smiled. That bright, beautiful smile I'd carried in my heart for 15 years. Yes, she whispered. Yes. Marcus Kane, I'll marry you. I slid the ring on her finger and it fit perfectly, like everything about us, improbable, unlikely, but somehow exactly right. CTA number 3. Marcus proposed after officially dating for 6 months, but loving her for 22 years. Is that too fast? Or when you know you know? Would you say yes to someone who waited 15 years for you? Share your thoughts below. I want to hear your take on this. We got married 3 months later in a private ceremony that was equal parts beautiful and chaotic. My side of the guest list, my parents, siblings, close friends, key executives from Kane Technologies. Nadia's side, her mother, who cried through the entire ceremony, her employees, now our employees, the friends she'd made in Atlanta, and surprisingly, 3 of the homeless shelter workers who'd helped her and her mother years ago. I wanted them to see what they helped build, she explained when I raised an eyebrow at the guest list. They gave us food and shelter when we had nothing. They're part of my story. The media went insane, of course. Billionaire marries his VP in whirlwind romance. Marcus Kane's fairy tale wedding. From homeless to Mrs. Billionaire, Nadia Williams's Cinderella story. We ignored all of it. Because the truth was more complicated and more beautiful than any headline could capture. A year after our wedding, Nadia sat across from a reporter doing a profile on Kane Technologies' continued success. People still ask if you married Marcus for his money, the reporter said bluntly. How do you respond? Nadia didn't flinch. I respond by showing them my work. I've designed accessible technology that's changed lives. I've built initiatives that have set industry standards. My worth isn't determined by who I married. It's determined by what I've created. But surely the opportunities you've had are because of your relationship. The opportunities I've had are because I'm good at what I do. Marcus didn't make me talented. He just gave me a platform to showcase talents I'd been developing for years. She leaned forward. Here's what people don't understand. I didn't need Marcus Kane's money. I needed Marcus Kane's belief. When the rest of the world told me I wasn't enough, when my own father's abuse made me feel worthless, Marcus saw potential. That's what he gave me, not wealth, belief. And the 15 years he waited for you were his choice. I never asked him to wait. In fact, I specifically told him not to look for me. But he did it anyway because that's who Marcus is, someone who keeps promises even when they're inconvenient, even when they're costly. Do you think you would have been successful without him? Absolutely. I was already running a successful design firm when we reconnected. But would I be this happy? No. Because success without someone to share it with is just expensive loneliness. And I've had enough loneliness to last a lifetime. The article, when it ran, was titled, Nadia Kane, the woman who built an empire while everyone debated whether she deserved it. It was the first time she'd been profiled not as my wife, but as a leader in her own right. 2 years after our wedding, Nadia announced she was pregnant. I found out in the most mundane way possible. She walked into my office, closed the door, and said, I'm late. Late for what? Not late for something. Late. As in my period is late. As in, I think I'm pregnant. Time stopped. Are you sure? I took 3 tests. All positive. So yeah, pretty sure. I crossed the room and pulled her into my arms, overwhelmed by emotions I couldn't name. We're having a baby. We're having a baby, she confirmed, and she was crying and laughing simultaneously. I'm terrified. Me too. What if I'm a terrible mother? What if I pass on trauma from my father? You won't. You'll be an incredible mother because you know what bad parenting looks like, and you'll do the opposite. What if the baby gets your stubbornness and my pride? Then we'll have a very determined child who refuses to give up. Sounds perfect. She laughed, burying her face in my chest. I can't believe this is real. Sometimes I still wake up thinking I'm back in that shelter, that you're just a dream I had. I'm real. This is real. Our baby is real. I kissed her forehead. And we're going to be okay. 7 months later, Nadia went into labor 3 weeks early. I'd imagined this moment countless times, staying calm, being supportive, handling everything with grace. Instead, I panicked spectacularly. The bag! Where's the hospital bag? In the closet, like it's been for 2 months. Nadia was remarkably calm for someone whose water had just broken. "Marcus, breathe! I'm breathing! No, you're hyperventilating. I need you to calm down. You're the one in labor." "Yes, and I'm the calm one. Let that sink in." Her mother met us at the hospital, and together we coached Nadia through 19 hours of labor. "I changed my mind," Nadia gasped at hour 15. "I don't want to do this anymore." "Too late now, baby," her mother laughed. "Marcus, this is your fault. You and your let's have a baby nonsense. You brought it up. Details. I'm in pain, so it's your fault." "Absolutely. Totally my fault. I'm sorry." "You should be." At 3:47 a.m., our daughter entered the world, tiny, perfect, screaming her displeasure at having been evicted from her comfortable womb. "She's beautiful," I whispered, watching Nadia hold her for the first time. "She looks like an angry raisin," Nadia countered, but she was crying. "Our angry little raisin. What should we name her?" We'd debated names for months, never settling on anything that felt right. Nadia looked down at our daughter, then at me. "Hope. Her name is Hope. Hope Kane? Hope Williams Kane. She gets both our names. Perfect." I kissed Nadia's forehead, then our daughter's. "Welcome to the world, Hope Williams Kane. Your mom waited 15 years to have a family. Your dad waited 15 years for your mom. And now you're here, making us complete." 5 years after our wedding, I sat in a board meeting discussing Kane Technologies' continued expansion. "The accessibility division has exceeded all projections," Jennifer reported. "Under Nadia's leadership, we've captured market share from every major competitor. Her innovative designs have set the standard industry-wide." "Any concerns about nepotism?" one of the newer board members asked. Before I could respond, Jennifer cut in. "Nadia Williams Kane earned her position through merit. Her division is the most profitable in the company. If that's nepotism, I suggest we practice it more often." The room laughed. The culture had shifted. Nadia was no longer Marcus Kane's wife. She was a respected leader who happened to be married to the CEO. After the meeting, I found her in her office. Our daughter Hope playing with blocks in the corner while Nadia worked on designs. "Mama!" Hope ran over when she saw me. "Daddy's here!" "I see that. Did you give Daddy his daily hug quota yet?" Hope threw her arms around my legs. "Hug quota complete!" Nadia grinned. "She's been saying that all day. I think you've created a monster." "A cute monster." I scooped Hope up, spinning her until she shrieked with laughter. When I set her down, Nadia was watching us with an expression I couldn't quite read. "What?" "Just thinking about how far we've come. 15 years ago, I was hiding from an abusive father, convinced I'd never have a family. Now I have you, Hope, a career I love, a life I never imagined was possible. You built that life. I just waited for you to feel safe enough to claim it." "You didn't just wait. You kept a space for me. In your company, your life, your heart. Even when it seemed crazy. Even when everyone told you to move on." "Because I knew. I've always known." "Known what?" "That you were it for me. That no one else would ever be enough. That waiting 15 years or 50 years didn't matter. You were worth it." She stood, crossing to me, and kissed me like we were 18 again, promising forever under the stars. "I love you, Marcus Kane." "I love you, Nadia Williams Kane. Always have. Always will." Hope tugged on my pants. "Daddy, Mama, stop being gross." We laughed, pulling her into a group hug, our family, built on patience and promise, and the radical act of believing love was worth waiting for. 15 years after reunion, the auditorium was packed for Kane Technologies' 30th anniversary celebration. Employees, partners, clients, all gathered to celebrate 3 decades of innovation. I stood at the podium, looking out at faces I'd come to know over years of building this company. 30 years ago, I began. I started Kane Technologies with $10,000 and a dream. I wanted to build technology that served everyone, not just the wealthy or able-bodied. I wanted to create a company with integrity, ethics, values. I paused, finding Nadia in the front row, Hope beside her, now 15, the same age we'd been when we fell in love. What I didn't tell anyone for years was that this company was always meant to be a partnership. I built it alone, yes, but I built it for two people, for me and for a girl I loved who disappeared. I kept a space for her, literally an empty office with her name on it, for 15 years. People thought I was crazy. Murmurs of recognition rippled through the audience. But I wasn't crazy. I was faithful. Because I knew something most people forget. Love isn't about convenience. It's not about perfect timing or easy circumstances. It's about showing up, about keeping promises, about believing someone is worth waiting for, even when the wait seems impossible. I gestured for Nadia to join me on stage. She came up, our daughter following. Nadia Williams Kane joined this company 15 years ago, filling the space I'd kept for her. And in that time, she's transformed our accessibility initiatives, expanded our market, and proven that the best partnerships are worth waiting for. I took her hand. But more than that, she taught me that building an empire means nothing if you build it alone. That success is hollow without someone to share it with. That patience, real, stubborn, unreasonable patience, is sometimes the most radical act of love. Nadia squeezed my hand, tears in her eyes. So today, as we celebrate 30 years of Kane Technologies, I want to celebrate something else. 37 years of loving this woman, 22 years since we fell in love, 15 years since we found each other again, and hopefully 50 more years of building a life that proves waiting for the right person is always worth it. The auditorium erupted in applause. Later, at the celebration, Hope pulled me aside. "Daddy, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Sweetheart, was it really worth it? Waiting 15 years for Mom?" I looked across the room at Nadia, laughing with colleagues, brilliant and beautiful, the woman who'd been worth every day of waiting. "Every second," I told Hope. "Every single second." "How did you know she'd come back?" "I didn't, but I knew that if she didn't, I'd rather have spent my life faithful to love than settled for something less. And that's a choice I'd make again in a heartbeat." Hope hugged me tight. "When I grow up, I want to find someone who loves me like you love Mom." "You will. And if they're smart, they'll wait as long as it takes to deserve you. Because that's what real love does. It waits. It keeps promises. It holds space even when the space seems empty. And when it finally comes home, it's worth every moment of patience, every tear of longing, every day of faithful waiting. 15 years I waited, and I'd do it again. Every single time.